Here's a thought. The cyber threats targeting a hospital look almost nothing like the cyber threats targeting a bank, and neither of those look like what's targeting a manufacturing plant or a retail chain. Not all industries face the same threats. Understanding which threats are most relevant to your specific industry is the difference between defending against everything, which is impossible, and defending against what actually matters for your business. To understand why threat landscapes differ, let's consider three factors that create distinct vulnerability profiles. First, the data you hold. Healthcare organizations hold medical records, information that's valuable for identity theft and insurance fraud, which commands premium prices on criminal marketplaces. Financial service firms hold account information and direct access to money. Retailers hold payment card data. Each data type attracts different attackers with different motivations. Second, the operational dependencies. Manufacturing depends on operational technology and industrial control systems. Disrupting those systems stops production, which is why ransomware gangs increasingly target manufacturers. Healthcare depends on continuous system availability for patient care. Energy and utilities depend on control systems that, if compromised, could affect public safety. Different dependencies create different vulnerabilities. And third, your regulatory environment. Healthcare operates under HIPAA, financial services under GLBA and PCI DSS, and sector-specific regulations. These frameworks shape what attackers know about your defenses and what data they know you're protecting. Understanding these factors helps you anticipate which threats you'll actually face. Let's think about the healthcare threat landscape a little more. Healthcare organizations face a unique combination of challenges. They hold extremely valuable data. Medical records contain enough personal information for comprehensive identity theft. They operate under intense pressure for system availability because patient care depends on it. And they often run complex environments with legacy systems and connected medical devices. The primary threat actors targeting healthcare are financially motivated criminals seeking data for resale or extortion, and increasingly ransomware operators who know that hospitals may pay quickly to restore patient care systems. Nation-state actors also target healthcare for research data and intellectual property. The typical attack methods include phishing to gain initial access, ransomware for extortion, and exploitation of vulnerabilities in medical devices and legacy systems. For the financial services threat landscape, financial services face the most sophisticated and persistent threats because attackers are motivated by direct financial gain. Money, money, money. Banks and financial institutions are targeted by organized criminal groups seeking to steal funds directly, and nation-state actors conducting espionage or seeking to destabilize financial systems, and increasingly sophisticated fraud operations. Attack methods include business email compromise, credential theft, exploitation of third-party connections, and attacks on payment systems. Financial services organizations typically have mature security programs, so attackers focus on finding gaps, often through supply chain compromise or social engineering. Manufacturing has become a prime target for ransomware because operational disruption has immediate measurable costs. When production stops, companies lose money by the hour. Attackers know this creates pressure to pay ransoms quickly. The threat landscape includes ransomware gangs, nation-state actors interested in intellectual property and trade secrets, and competitors engaging in industrial espionage. Attack vectors often include exploitation of operational technology systems, which may have weaker security than IT systems, and compromise of remote access connections. Retail faces threats centered on payment card data and customer information. Point-of-sale systems, e-commerce platforms, and customer databases are primary targets. The seasonal nature of retail, with massive spikes during holiday periods, creates windows of vulnerability when systems are under stress and security teams are stretched thin. Threat actors include organized criminal groups specializing in payment card fraud and attackers seeking customer data for identity theft or resale. Attack methods include point-of-sale malware, e-commerce e-commerce skimming, and exploitation of third-party integrations. Harvard strategist Michael Porter wrote, "The essence of strategy is choosing what not to do." This principle applies directly to cybersecurity. You cannot defend against every possible threat with equal intensity. Resources are finite. The real strategic question isn't how do we protect against everything? It's what are the specific threats we must prioritize and what can we afford to deprioritize? When you understand which threat actors are most interested in your industry, their typical methods, and the assets they target, you can make those choices deliberately rather than by accident. The organizations with the strongest security postures aren't necessarily spending the most money. They're spending it on the right things because they've chosen what not to do based on a clear understanding of their specific threat landscape. So, in order to identify your own threats, the ones most relevant to your organization, start with your industry peers. What breaches have affected organizations similar to yours? What attack methods were used? What vulnerabilities were exploited? Industry-specific threat intelligence and information sharing organizations can provide valuable insights here. And examine what you're protecting. What data do you hold that has value to attackers? What systems, if disrupted, would cause significant harm? What intellectual property or competitive information might attract espionage? Consider your regulatory environment. What compliance frameworks apply to you? What do those frameworks tell attackers about your security controls and the data you're protecting? And look at your operational dependencies. Where would a disruption hurt most? What systems must remain available? What third-party connections create potential entry points? The downloadable threat actor quick reference by industry provides a starting point for this analysis, mapping common threat actors, their motivations, typical methods, and target assets across multiple industry sectors. Once you understand your threat landscape, you can make better decisions about where to invest. Instead of trying to defend against every possible threat, prioritize defenses against the threats most likely to target your industry. If you're in manufacturing, prioritize protecting operational technology and ensuring you can recover quickly from ransomware. If you're in healthcare, focus on protecting patient data and maintaining system availability. If you're in financial services, emphasize fraud prevention and protecting customer credentials. This does not mean ignoring other threats entirely. It means allocating resources proportionally to risk. Generic threats still require baseline defenses, but your industry-specific threats deserve focused attention. You want to focus your security resources on the threats most likely to materialize for you. You can use the threat actor quick reference that's downloadable for this lesson to map the threat landscape for your industry and start thinking about how your current security investments align with your actual risks. Up next, we'll explore how attackers think about targets more, because understanding attacker decision making helps you understand what makes your organization attractive or unattractive to different threat actors.